one God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. There is a reason we save this particular reading for the season of Lent. It's a heavy topic, isn't it? It's appropriately Lenten sort of topic. I remember when I was leading a Bible study in Indianapolis, and one of the most common things that came up in this Bible study is, why do bad things happen to good people? I remember serving as a hospital chaplain in northern Indiana, working with patients and their families and doctors and nurses who were struggling, and again it came up. Why do bad things happen to good people? I came and I had served in Washington, D.C., serving in inner city D.C. in social services, and it came up again and again. Why do bad things happen to good people? Serving at Baylor University, the college students would come to me again and again, deep questions the college students they struggled with, among other things. Why do bad things happen to good people? I come here and I serve at our school here in Beaumont. The little kids come up to me, even as early as kindergarten. They come up and they ask, Father Balke, why do bad things happen to good people? Now, anyone in this room ever wondered that? Why do bad things happen? They show hands. Bad things happen to good people. Any few people here? I start to detect a theme after a while. That this is something that we all wrestle with as human beings. If you look back in time, among the oldest books in the Bible, older than Genesis, older than anything in the Torah, it's the book of Job. The book of Job, a book that is primarily about why bad things happen to us. What's the meaning behind it? From the earliest times when human beings could think for themselves and wonder about the world, we have wondered, what's the meaning behind it? And that's the story that the people in Jesus' time are struggling with, wrestling with, and Jesus is talking to them about this very topic. Particularly because he has a lot of people coming up to him, thinking to themselves, well, very natural. When bad things happen, it must be that we've done something to deserve it. Some defect in our soul, some sin we've committed, something we've done to offend God, and therefore God is punishing us. I hear it again and again. It comes up in some of the hardest, darkest times in our lives. Someone loses a loved one, a tragic accident. A hurricane comes and floods your home. A cancer diagnosis comes up again and again. There's something I did to deserve this. Something I did to bring this on myself. Is God punishing me for my loved ones? This is the kind of thing they come to Jesus asking him about. They want to know, not because they want to be punished by God, but because they desperately just want some sense of meaning behind it. So Jesus is talking to the Pharisees around him, his disciples around him, and they come up to him and he points to examples and he says, you see these people, the Gentiles? You see what happened to them? Well, I promise you that what befell them is not because they are any worse than you. I promise you that God is not punishing them because they were Gentiles. He points to the Tower of Siloam that falls and 18 people die in a tragic accident. And he promises, he says, it's not because of anything they did wrong. It's not because they were bad people. That God tells us again and again that there is nothing that we can do to separate us from the love of God, and therefore there is nothing that you could do that would deserve disaster or death to fall upon you as some kind of punishment. Now that should be good news, right? That's good news. This is good news akin of Jesus coming and promising us everlasting life and coming and saying, I have come to save you from eternal sins so that you shall not perish, but have everlasting life. This is good news at that level. To say, you won't be punished with death or disaster for doing something wrong. But there's a flip side to it. There's a flip side to it. And this is something Jesus is confronting them with and confronts us with. That if our death and if bad things happening to us aren't a punishment for wrongdoing, for making mistakes, for getting it wrong, the flip side of that also means getting it all right, being good people, doesn't save us from disaster either. Jesus confronts them with this idea that bad things happen to good people, right? Not because they're good people, but just because bad things happen to people. It's not the price we pay for wrongdoing, it's what happens because we're mortal. We have mortal lives. He pivots and immediately turns to this story of the fig tree, which seems odd at first. He immediately pivots and he tells them, don't get distracted by this idea of if I'm just good enough, if I just do everything right, if I'm just pure and holy enough that I can save myself from disaster. He says, don't get distracted by that. Look at the example of the fig tree. And he tells them in the fig tree a story about whether or not we're bearing fruit. We can put ourselves in that story as the fig tree, not knowing how much time we have, not knowing when we might be cut down. All we can do is bear fruit or not. And Jesus steps in this story. I guess Jesus would be the gardener, stepping in, tending to us, nurturing us, giving us what we need to bear fruit while we can. Or maybe we're the gardeners in the story. Maybe we're the ones that have been given time to nurture and to tend to the soil so that we might bear fruit for however long this fig tree is in our care. You see, Jesus is challenging his disciples to a discipline that is fully worthy of a good Lenten discipline. A good Lenten discipline as we all deal with mortality. To not be focused on the death, not to be focused on the time that we have and whether or not we've done something right or wrong, but to focus instead, he's challenging us, to focus instead on, are we bearing fruit? Are we bearing as much fruit as we can with the time that we have, however long that is? And so, we're joining a long tradition of people that stretch back from the first humans that wondered this, the people who struggled with the story of Job, the people in Jesus' time. And whether we are in a college in Waco, or in a hospital in Indiana, or a school here in Beaumont, we're all together. We're all together, wrestling with each other. Not about, do we get it right, or do we get it wrong? Do we deserve to live? Do we deserve to die? Does God love us, or does God not love us? Because we know God loves us. And instead, as Jesus challenges us, we can turn our focus to, what do we need to do to bear fruit in the time that we have? So that at the end of our lives, we can look back, and at the end of our lives, we can say that with whatever time we were given, however much it is for me and for you, that we can look back and say, we nurtured the soil. We tended to the ground. We bore good fruit the time that we had. This is truly a Lenten discipline to which we are all invited.